Well, thank you everyone for joining us. This is Jim Heyman. I'm the Vice President of Controls Central, and we want to say thank you. We apologize. We're just a few minutes after the hour. We had a little technical difficulty, but we got it taken care of. So thanks again. We know you're all busy, and we appreciate you being with us. I want to take just a moment to mention a couple of things at the beginning of the webinar, and then I'll introduce our presenter. This webinar today is being recorded, so if there's someone with your company that wasn't able to join us, they can see it. We will be emailing a link to all of you that are on the webinar today, so you'll have it as an on-demand recorded version. Also, I want to mention our presenter today welcomes your questions. And however, we do have the lines muted so that we can have an undistracted presentation, so there's no one walking over anyone. But you have a chat box, and we ask you at any time during the webinar, if you have a question, please just type it in, and I know John will be glad to get to that at the end. So also, two other things here. If you'll notice on the right side of your screen, there's a technical training presentation PowerPoint. That is a handout of the PowerPoint today. So if you would like the PowerPoint slides, you're welcome at any time to just click on that, download it. That's yours as a reference. So also, once we get started, John's going to explain. We're going to do a quick poll to find out how many of you are interested in the different products he'll be talking about. So anyway, thanks again. I want to get right out of the way here. Our presentation today is from ICM Controls. They are really an excellent supplier of Controls Central, and I want to introduce John Finetti. He is an engineering technician at ICM. John, welcome. Thank you, sir. It's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jim. So, as Jim has mentioned, I am a engineering technician, and I do technical support for ICM, and as well as other things for the engineering department. So, what we're going to do here is we have a few things that we're going to be covering: voltage monitors. We're going to be covering surge suppression, a little bit of defrost, and we're wondering if in your poll, if you could kind of indicate the things that are most important so I can focus more on those when I hit them. I'm expecting surge suppression as a big one, but if there's something else that is also important to you within the guidelines of the presentation, please, those are welcome to be asked as far as the polling. So with no further ado, we'll get started here. So what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about a little bit overview here of the ICM controls, the background of ICM, the product line. Today we're going to be mostly focusing on is voltage monitoring and surge suppression. We're going to talk about what imbalance protection is and transient voltage surge suppression. We're going to talk about instruments that combine both of those features in one. And we'll just give you some helpful things that we have on our website and our apps, okay? All right, so a little bit about the company itself. We've been around for over 30 years. We are an American company based in Syracuse, New York. We are completely vertically integrated, meaning we have a full board shop, a full R&D section, meaning research and development, a molding room, machine shop. We do everything here. Right down to making our own screws to put the products together. So we do everything from the ground up. We have also customer service and warehousing and shipping all in one location, which is very beneficial for a fast turnaround. We have a very good quality control here, and we are ISO certified. And again, just to stress, we are an American-made manufacturer. Some of our standard product lines include time delay relays, which the company was really started on, line voltage monitors, surge protection, hard starts. We have also a lot of fan blower controls and furnace boards, gas ignition modules, oil primaries, defrost controls, condensate controls, head pressure controls, and thermostats. So we do more than just surge suppression. We have a whole gamut of controls that we actually produce here, manufacture. So, we talk about voltage imbalance and how do we protect our single-phase equipment. Now, I will touch on a little bit with the three-phase stuff because there is some three-phase in the commercial end of it, more than the residential, but we do have a full line of three-phase and single-phase surge protection equipment. So we'll talk a little bit about the single-phase at the moment. The single-phase monitors include the ICM 491 and 492. These both do very similar things, only that the 492 is a little bit more advanced, being that it has a control voltage, and it also has digital display with a 5-fault memory and built-in anti-short cycle protection. So this voltage monitor, what it does is it'll detect brownout conditions, high voltage conditions, and you're going to be tied in parallel with the main line coming in. So we're going to be constantly monitoring that line, and then we'll open up a dry contact relay that's rated for 10 amps. Basically, what that's intended to do is to basically break a control circuit that shuts your system down in case we see a brownout condition. The 491, which is the one shown on the right in the picture, is just a scaled down version of the 492 for a more cost-effective, option. All right. This picture here on this slide shows how we see these typically mounted in a system. You see how you're in parallel with the main line coming in. You have an full 80 to 300 volt input. So basically you can add a 120 to 20 volt inputs. And you see how we're connected to the coil in this case of a contactor across the normally open and common outputs. Basically what we're doing there is we're just monitoring that voltage. If we see a problem, we're going to, over or under voltage, we're going to shut off the contactor, thus protecting your load. Okay, we also, if for some reason you lost power and it came right back on again, that's rapid system recycling. We will have a user adjustable anti-short cycle delay that can also be put on to prevent that short cycling. So this is a very good cost-effective insurance plan to protect your motors. Okay. Now we'll talk a little bit about voltage surge. Voltage surge is different than a voltage rise, okay? Like over and under voltage, as far as relation to grid power changes, are totally different than transient voltage surges, okay? And we'll explain that a little bit. So you can see in this diagram, transient voltage surges are a spike outside of the normal level of your normal sine wave. So what that means is that your AC voltage is coming in at a normal nominal level, and then all of a sudden, in a very fast, very short period of time, you'll get a huge spike. So these are fast-acting transient voltage surges, and they are very detrimental to sensitive equipment, especially in the mini splits, as we'll talk about a little bit later. Electronic equipment, that has boards in it and things like that are going to need some type of protection against these spikes. So the question on this slide is, why do you need a surge protector? Now this picture is just basically showing one of our surge monitors basically installed on an outdoor breaker there, outdoor disconnect, I should say. So basically what we're saying here is that why do you need it? Well, you want to protect your equipment, obviously. The control board in a unit can sometimes represent almost half the cost of the actual product itself. Sometimes in furnace boards now, they're getting very expensive in some cases. Some carrier furnace boards are $400 and $500, and they can be extremely expensive. So having something like this on your residential equipment is pretty handy. It extends the life of the equipment and keeps damaging spikes from stressing the components that are in the equipment, and especially the circuit board itself. So functionality of one of our main leading line single phase surge suppressor. This is the one we're offering now. We will have a wider line coming up of surge suppressors, but right now this is our main line surge suppressor that we offer. And the question is, how does this work? What is the secret that keeps these voltage spikes from getting through? What they are is we use a thermally protected, what they call thermally protected MOV, metal oxide varistor, which suppresses the surge. All right, it's not in series with the product line. It's in parallel with the main line. So we're sitting in parallel with the line, and we're monitoring that voltage. And if a spike comes down the line, we're going to suppress that spike within the ratings of the device, which is 100,000 amps and 1,020 joules. So it's a surge suppressor, just exactly what it's saying. And when that surge exceeds the limits of the device, those thermally protected fuses that are on the MOVs will open up and safely fail. Notice another thing is that the box is a metal box, NEMA 3R rated outdoor enclosure, meaning that it's going to withstand any type of failure is going to safely fail inside that box. It's also outdoor resistant, weather resistant. All right. Indicator lights on the control. There's 3 indicator lights. It's hard to kind of see them, but you see them labeled as LED 1, LED 2, and LED 3. Those will light green when the control is under full suppression and it's working normally, and you have full protection. If for any reason one or any of those lights, all of those lights go out, you would then replace the control. This is an expendable item. It is not resettable. Again, it's in parallel with the line, and it's monitoring the line. As soon as something happens within the ratings of the device, it opens up safely, then the control needs to be replaced. So what this control carries with it is our limited lifetime protection warranty, and that covers, that's a very specific warranty, and it covers specific items. The sales department can answer any questions on that via email, should you have any questions on that. And you can always email ICM at info@ICMControls.com. This is what they call a Type 2. The 517 is a Type 2 surge protector, meaning it is meant to go on the load side of the line, on the load side of a disconnect, or on a circuit breaker, rated for no more than 60 amps, from 20 to 60 amps. So what that means is this is not a whole house surge suppressor, and that's important to understand. Many people ask that question. A whole house surge suppressor is a Type 1 device. That has to be installed by a certified electrician. But these type of devices can be installed by your contractors, HVAC technicians, because they're on the load side of the line. These represent protection for 120 and 240 volt applications. As I mentioned, the surge protection rating is surge current is 100,000 amps. The energy level of protection is 1,020 joules. These are rated for up to 20 to 60 amps services, and they are water resistant and fire resistant metal cases, NEMA 3R rated. So basically, it's going to replace most of your major competitors in the single phase surge protector market, like Supco and Intermatic. And this is a UL listed device as well. It is UL listed, and means that it's a standalone device. Okay. And we mentioned the TMOVs. Okay, so again, key takeaway points with our single phase surge suppression. So it's a low cost insurance plan for your products. It reduces expensive repairs and replacement of equipment. It's very easy to install. It comes with its own installation guide, and it's just a few wires you tie in parallel with the line. You have a NEMA 3R rated outdoor enclosure. It's got TMOV surge suppression technology, meaning thermally protected metal oxide varistors, easy to read LEDs, and not only does it extend the life of your equipment, but it protects you from those surges, which are taking out circuit boards in many cases. And of course, it's made here right in the USA, which is always a good thing, supporting our local economy. All right, so how do we combine both voltage unbalance and surge protection in one device? Well, the answer to that was the 493. So what we did is we took the two pieces of equipment we just mentioned to you, the voltage monitor and the surge suppressor, and the benefits of both, and combined them into one unit for 220-volt applications, 240-volt applications. Where this really took off was in the mini-split market. So the 493 is the answer to sort of marrying those two types of devices together. So the ICM 493 will have both voltage monitoring capabilities of the 492 plus the surge protection technology of the 517. You have a 40 amp rated contactor in there that breaks you from the line. Now the difference between this one and the 492 that you saw, as well as the 517, particularly the 517, is that this one's in series with the line. This is going to break you from the main line, whereas the other devices didn't necessarily break you from the main line, especially 517 was in parallel, so it definitely did not break you from the main line. And neither did the 492, because it was mostly cutting off low voltage circuits. Whereas this one will, up to 40 amps, break you from that line. It is also an NEMA 3R rated outdoor enclosure, and it is ideal for the mini split market. Primarily because it gives you the both levels of protection. This is all extremely important to remember as contractors, to talk to your customers about the benefits of having both of those protections. If you just get the one, if you just get line voltage monitoring, that's okay, but you're missing the whole other half. You're missing the surges, which also present a huge problem. Now, granted, in the mini split market, voltage problems are the worst. So minimum security would be just a voltage monitor. The big problem with the mini split markets is the mini splits are rated, a lot of them, for 208, 230, and we have 240 in the U.S. So in our 240, we'll have usually like a 10% tolerance, and so you might be starting out at 247, 248, but the mini splits are rated for 208, 230, which leaves you with 253 as the maximum that they want to see. If you even go a few volts above this 253, it will damage the circuit board, and they're non-repairable. A lot of times you have to replace the circuit boards. So this has taken off well for us in the mini split market, where we can protect that. We can tune this in and protect it for the 253 volts. So you won't ever get above that 253 and protect your equipment. Plus, it has the added benefit of protecting against surges. So I kind of covered that, this slide, pretty much of what I just went over. You know, you've got surge suppression technology, very much like the 517, where it absorbs the electrical energy, safely dissipating it, disengages from the line when the limit's reached, will disconnect the equipment, continuously monitors the incoming voltage for brownouts or overvoltage conditions. So you got that dual benefit there. And it's in a NEMA 3R rated outdoor enclosure. Okay? All right. Okay, so our calibration on this. Now, because the 493 is it's not a true RMS meter reader. It reads the voltage as a peak voltage instead of a peak average voltage, rather than a true RMS reading. Your voltmeters, your fluke voltmeters, for example, will read true RMS values because they're an expensive piece of equipment, a very expensive piece of equipment that is made just for doing that purpose. We added that feature into ours as a software feature to calibrate to the true RMS reading, rather than actually having to put the sophisticated electronics in it and required to be a true RMS meter. It wasn't necessarily required for this application. We just need to know what the peak value is, and then we can tune it to the RMS value so that you can be pinpoint accurate within that about a volt of the true RMS reading of your voltmeter. With these tight tolerances of the mini splits, not to exceed 253 volts, it's very important that when you install a 493, you do calibrate it, okay, to read that value so you get the maximum benefit out of the control. Because like I said, you might be very near that, that 253 deadline. You might be only 7 volts away from it. So you want to make sure that your meter is reading within that setting. Now, how do you do that on the 493? Well, I've given you a blurb here. We can look at this later. But basically, there's a process through the front panel to adjust the voltage to the true RMS, the voltage read by the ICM 493 to the true RMS reading. The voltage, when it's doing this calibration, it's not just a quick, you just press a button and it goes right to it. It's constantly averaging the voltage, so it's a dynamically changing averaging. So you kind of got to let it settle out between settings. So you'll raise it a little bit, and then when you're in the calibration mode, you'll raise the voltage a little bit or lower it, depending on where you need to be, and then it'll average. And then you got to do it again, and you just walk it down. It only takes a couple of minutes, but you got to just walk it down, and you can get it within about a volt of the true RMS reading. But it's just important to know that it's not going to be something that you just ride right up, because if you try to ride it right up to the point where you want it to be, it'll average, and then it'll be over, and you'll be fighting yourself. But if you just make small increments to the top or where you want to be, then it'll be right on spot. All right, so some key points again. ICM 493 is wired in series, so it takes the unit offline in the event of a fault. Because mini splits don't have a separate contactor, you really can't break into those with like a 492. You're kind of you could be voiding a warranty with these conventional voltage monitors. That's why the mini splits are nice, because you don't have to break into the equipment. With the mini splits and the 493 is nice because you don't have to break into the equipment. You can just put it in series with the main line. So the power comes from the distribution box to the ICM, from the ICM right to your mini split, and you're good. Which just makes the ICM 493 even more valuable, because you don't have to break into the control. All right, so some key takeaway points on the 493. Dual protection against voltage surges and voltage variations, okay? So you got not only line voltage monitoring, but surge suppression in one box, okay? You got a good NEMA 3R rated outdoor box, okay, outdoor enclosure. You got thermal MOV, TMOV surge suppression technology, which safely will fail once the maximum limit of 100,000 amps and 1,020 joules is met. You got a display voltage calibration feature, which allows you to tune your display voltage to true RMS readings, which gives you more pinpoint accuracy. An easy-to-read backlit LCD screen disconnects the equipment from the line in the event of a fault, so you're in series with the line. It has also 5-fault memory, so it remembers up to at least 5 events that occurred, so you have a little history, and extends the life of your equipment, okay? And of course, again, made here right in the good old USA. So a little bit on our website. Some areas where you can find help would be our website. Our website has all of our installation guides and service manuals, okay? So if you need any information on any of our products, you can always call our 1-800 number and ask for tech support, all right? Or you can go to our website at www.ICMControls.com, and you can look up any one of our products, and you can get the installation guide, any sales literature that you need, cut sheets, anything you need to make it helpful for you to understand how the control works, how to wire it, okay? We also have an ICM app, okay? And the ICM app is a huge thing because you can download the app to your mobile phone from either the Google Play Store or from the App Store, and you can use that app to get to the ICM cross-reference guide, which means all you have to do is really look at your board. Let's say you got let's say you're replacing a defrost board, for example. You can type in the defrost board part number. If we have the cross to it, it'll pop up as the ICM equivalent. And this goes for any of our other stuff that we carry on our website as well, including furnace boards and other controls. All available product details available, like I said, wiring diagrams and such. And you can always, again, call our technical support line for any questions that you might have. And that's what this is the 800 number that you would call in for technical assistance, 1-800-365-5525, and you can just ask for technical support, and we will help you with that. Well, that is the end of our slides. If there is anything else that you guys have questions on, I think we can open the floor for questions at this point.
Excellent. Wow, great presentation, John. This is Jim Heyman. Listen, to those of you on the call, we invite you to type in your questions. I know John would be glad to answer every one of them, and as you can tell, this guy's got the answers. So I also want to remind you, while you're typing those in, remind you there is a PowerPoint handout that you can click on and download. As you can see, there's a lot of information that it would be very helpful to have. So, Harshal, let me ask you this: have you received any questions on your screen, sir?
Yeah, Jim, I don't see any questions so far.
Okay.
Yeah, Harshal, are you able to open up the phones so that people can directly ask questions?
Harshal, if you can, go ahead. It may get hard to hear, but we'll be glad to try it if you'd like to, John. So
sure.
Hang on, everybody. We're going to open them up. Okay. Harshal, go ahead and open it up.
Okay.
You probably got the copy of the old report somewhere.
Okay, is it open now, Harshal?
2020, I went to December 31st.
Okay, does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask John? Harshal, I did not hear the prompter say that the lines have been unmuted. Are they open?
They are.
Okay. John, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you guys fine, yeah.
All right.
So
well,
if anybody has any questions, yeah, go ahead.
It's just that this shows, if I use, like, the report came out December 31st, I can use fiscal quarter 1 and 2.
Well, John, I got news for you. You may have answered all the questions. Give another moment here. Anyone want to jump on the line and ask a question? Please just jump in, tell us your first name, your company, and what your question is.
Yeah, hi, John. I've muted I've muted the attendees again because there was too much disturbance.
Yeah.
There are some questions on the GoToWebinar panel, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm answering one right now, three-phase voltage imbalance. That's the one where there's a handout for that. So they should be able to download that.
Yeah, you can read those out and you can talk about the answer as well.
And I have to do that while I'm here, right? Now, at this point, right?
Well, some attendees are still online, so they might be interested in the questions as well.
Okay. Well, there's this handout that shows this option. Harshal, how do I see the full line of these of the people? There's a little drop-down box here somewhere.
Yeah, if you click on the questions,
Okay.
yeah, instead of typing it in, you can also just read it out your answer to it as well, John.
Okay. I can read out I can read it out?
Yeah, yeah.
Can people hear me now?
Yeah, they can. Yes.
Okay, so there's a question here from Jeremy about defrost controls. Somehow that got dropped off of our demonstration here, but we were touching on the ICM 550, which is a defrost control, which which competes with the grass lid and the intermatic controls. We also have a full line of defrost boards that we can offer as well. That is all that information on our defrost controls that we offer is available on our website as well. And if I can add something that you can see on the 550. Herschel may be able to add that to this presentation as a handout after we close the presentation. He can add it as a last item that you might be able to get at. Again, all of our information is available on our defrost controls at our website. And anybody that has any questions on defrost controls can certainly email to info@ICMControls.com, or they can call tech support at 1-800-365-5525. All right.
Okay, so it looks like we have one more question, John. It's from Omar, if you see it on there. And he's asking about the price range on the devices.
So I'm not in sales, so I don't know the price range on all those devices. Any one of those could be gotten from the distributor to which they do business with. We sell to the HVAC market through distribution. So any of your local HVAC distributors would be able to give you pricing on those things. We don't sell directly to the contractors. It's usually through HVAC distribution. But as a general rule, our equipment is very cost effective. So they're not going to be, they're usually going to be much more competitive than, other popular brands. We're going to be, because we can make everything in-house, we don't have a lot of the overhead that the other companies have. So our prices are generally less expensive as a whole.
Okay.
And I think that covers the three questions that were here. So thank you for that question, Omar. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, if you also don't mind reading out the first question, because I don't think the attendees heard the first question, John.
Okay, so the first question was, let's see, that was from Tim. Commercial HVAC in Chantilly. Oh, he had no questions. He says no questions.
Oh, it's the one that says for three-phase voltage imbalance.
So for three-phase voltage monitors, we have a full line of three-phase voltage monitors as well. We have the primary one that we usually push is the ICM 450, which has an LCD screen, a 25-fault memory, and it does phase loss, phase unbalance, and phase reversal. It is our premier voltage monitor, and I did have a handout that Herschel has added to the presentation, which you can download. Plus, again, all of our full line of three-phase voltage monitors is on our website at www.ICMControls.com. But that is a very good question. But yes, we do have a full line of three-phase voltage monitors, and I would highly recommend anybody in the commercial industry or even residential, but usually residential won't be three-phase, but the commercial industry that has three-phase equipment, absolutely, a voltage monitor is essential, along with this surge protection. And we are coming out, just so that everybody knows, with a 3-phase surge suppressor as well.
Okay.
So if, there's still 17 attendees, I think, right? So if any of those guys have any other questions?
No, looks like that's all the questions we have.
Okay.
So, yeah, well, John, thanks a lot for a great presentation, and it was very informative. And thank you all for joining us. This is a webinar through Controls Central, and thanks all for attending.
Thank you, Herschel, and it was my pleasure.
All right, thank you all.
Take care now.